Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and that is not what I wanted up front. Well, that's what you get. You get the raw version, I guess. Let me try this one more time. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and as you can tell, this is not my normal layout. This is the Eve Universe show. Hey! We might actually try to do one of those today. So today, unlike yesterday, is going to be a lot more structured than before. I actually have things to go over. A lot has happened between now and then. And so we got things to talk about. So I have a little sticky note here to help me remember. So here's to hoping. Now, also, I will be making little markers and stuff so that way all of the subsections can be split out on YouTube. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're watching this part on YouTube, that means this video is like the full VOD. And then there'll be other smaller videos that are out at about the same time that will be the subsection. So it's your choice. You can either watch it all the way through. You can watch the whole, each subsection, or both if you want to, just to make sure I haven't changed anything between the two, or maybe put a secret code in one. No, I haven't. All right. So let's jump into it. The first thing that we're going to talk about today is I'm going to do a reaction video to the Pulse video, and then a reaction to the Scope video, and then we're going to go over some Hoboleaks stuff, and then if we have any extra time after that, which I don't know if we will, but we'll be just doing some alpha fittings for like new bros and to get ready for like prepare stuff for Aderon Robotics and Glente Faction Warfare, really Faction Warfare in general. All right, so where were we? We were at, we're going to do the reaction to the Pulse. Hold on, let me set this up and then we'll do the video back over. How's my sound? Is everything good? Oh, you probably want to hear desktop audio. Let me fix where my mic is. All right. So, checking to see if Chrome is good. Good. Not quite. Tweak. All right. So we're going to go back into the intro and then jump straight into the reaction video. And now I can do this /marker. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and I am here today with the latest Pulse video that was released this morning. For those of you who may be new or hasn't been paying attention too much to Eve's social media in the past, the Pulse video is basically Eve's or CCP's newest version of maybe previous examples like the 07 show and other stuff like that. So it is, or it was, a fairly regular show that was produced by the CCP community team that showed off like all the latest news, what dev blogs have been coming out, patches, new skins, whatever, right? And for the last couple of months, we haven't had any of these. They specifically said that they were going to stop doing them for a couple of months so that way they could bring it back in like a new, better form. And I've talked about this for a while, that this, and combined with the Alliance tournament and other stuff like that, kind of showcases that CCP is, or at least signals that CCP is looking to kind of reboot their presence, their marketing, etc., the way that they communicate with us and how much they communicate with us this fall, which now it's then. And so now we have the Alliance tournament and we have the newest Pulse. So we've waited like, what, 2 months for the next Pulse? Let's see whether or not it's worth it. I actually have already watched this, and so I know that I have a lot I want to say about it, but I don't necessarily remember everything. I've watched it only once. So let's just jump into it. That's pretty. Uh-oh, I'm going the wrong way.
Welcome back to The Pulse. This will be your regular spot of New Eden intel and all happenings in EVE Online.
First of all, I want to correct this. This needs to be a little bit wider than it is, but this is already a really cool setup. It's funny because we were just talking about establishments yesterday, and the idea of like the semi-crowded bar, or, whatever, is very iconic of EVE Online in a strange way. So I really kind of like that they went with this sort of vibe, and yeah, so it's a really hard thing to do, right? Because they're trying to balance being kind of in the game and buying into it and not coming off as too cheesy, which I guess they've never necessarily been too concerned about being too cheesy. But my point is that I feel like this comes across as actually good representation of this, as opposed to like, here I am in the cardboard spaceship, or really other kinds of stuff that they've done in the past. Either way, let's go.
Starting with Gateway, the third quadrant of 2021, which is now live in-game. The Gateway quadrant will open the door to New Eden for many new capsuleers, and also provide established player corporations and alliances new avenues in which to direct the training and advancement of fresh recruits.
So I'm really excited about that. Obviously, anything involving new corporation stuff is great. I don't know whether or not this means new advertisement capabilities. They'll tell us a little bit more about the MPE and stuff. I think that actually the next step of the MPE may actually tie more into player corporations, but we'll look into that in just a second. Actually, let's just jump back into it.
Gateway will be a shorter quadrant than normal, and will also act as a stepping stone to EVE Online's fourth quadrant of 2021 in November, where a new era will dawn across New Eden, signaling updates for resource scarcity.
Okay, so obviously a quadrant is 1/4, and that would mean that each quadrant in EVE Online would be like a quarter of the year, which would be 3 months. However, there has been at least 2 issues where one quadrant went too long, and at the very beginning of the year, they kind of had a month almost without a quadrant, if that makes sense, because, after December, January is always very thin. So either way, they were already pretty much behind, right? So like Gateway just basically came out, I guess maybe a month ago, but I think less than that. And the concern is it's like, this is already time almost for us to be talking about the fourth quadrant. Will there be a fourth quadrant? And this answers that. So Gateway is focused on bringing people into the game, which is really important given the fact that they've in the past have not focused on that as much, because they feel like they have a retention problem as opposed to a recruitment problem. So this is really this tells me that they feel like what they've been working towards when it comes to the MPE and what's next, and introducing the players to the new players into the game, is kind of ready to roll out. And they've been working on this since 2019. So kind of excited about that. We've already seen some of it with the animations, the new MPE, the first half of the new MPE, and the skill plan rollout, which they talk about in a little bit. I'm interested to see whether or not we're going to get much more when it comes to Gateway, but that idea of the next, so this quadrant being a short quadrant that sets up the next quadrant, which is go time, has me very excited. Very, very excited. Not only are they once again saying out loud, like the end of resource scarcity, which will hopefully get into people's heads that now's the time to prepare. And realize that we're going to be like, this is the setup for the kickoff, which is starting in November, which makes me very, very excited for that. And I just wonder how big of a kickoff we're going to get.
The Gateway Quadrant kicked off with a brand new story-driven capsuleer training experience for rookie pilots. This is the first step in improving the Gateway to New Eden for fresh pilots, and will continue to be updated, engaging players to keep them in the game longer. The new skill plans feature is now also live.
That's an interesting one for a couple of reasons. So, Easy is pointing out that they're starting to focus too much on getting new players and not much on keeping older players. I actually disagree with that. There's plenty of examples of them doing things for older players, including the Rogue Drone content update that they talk about in a little bit. But also, as I mentioned yesterday, and it's worth noting again, that basically what's really happening is that CCP is building a brand new tech to manage animations and behavioral states to allow NPCs to communicate with us in a much more realistic and immersive way, I guess. And so you know, they didn't just use the MPE because, oh, they want to just keep like focusing on new players' experience. It's because that is the most focused point of entry, right? Like if you were trying to roll this out for mission runners, you would have to have it for basically what would you do? Every mission agent, whatever, even career agents. There's 5. Technically, if you wanted to get really bad about it, it's 5 times 3 times 4. So 20, 60 different career agents, each of which are their own kind of dude. So even that is kind of a monumental thing. However, there's only one aura. So they can make a little piece of aura where she interacts with you for like 10 minutes of gameplay. That's a very good first step. The second step is they introduce 2 or 3 more characters in the next piece of the MPE, which they've done. What's interesting about this is that the concern that I've always had when it comes to voice acting is the same issue that they had in the Inception MPE, which is that once you've hired and gotten a voice actor recorded, it can be very difficult to add or change things. Often these are contract work. It's very difficult to maybe get them again, or whatnot, which is why like Overwatch was really famous for like locking in their voice actors so they could continually go back to that pot. Eve hasn't done that from my understanding. So the idea that they can update this, and they point that out, is kind of hopeful, and goes back to that idea that I hope that they're working on a better way of doing like procedural voice work or something like that to allow them to be more flexible with stuff. Because once that tech is proven out, then you can fold it to things like mission running and all that stuff relatively rapidly. So first we got Aura, then we got the new Air representatives, and as CCP Aurora, I believe it was, on Reddit pointed out, the career agent's name days are numbered. And as this video kind of points out, having well-informed, prepared new players to join our ranks, players that are actually prepared to with the information that they need to join, and once they join one of our player groups, that I think helps experienced players.
Streamlining and simplifying your progression through Eve's many skills and advancement avenues. Skill plans allow you to build an ordered list of skills without needing to buy and inject them first, with specific goals which you can create to follow and keep track of your training as you aim for your desired experiences and challenges in Eve.
I've been saying this since the skill planning has come out. This is a different paradigm to how skills are processed, right? And I've been saying that CCP needs to explain this, break it down for people, so that way experienced players can understand it. Because right now, people are just interpreting it kind of with the old paradigm's mindset, and they just see it as a broken system as opposed to a different system. So I hope that, this is this is kind of what I was hoping for. It remains to be seen if this is enough. And I definitely agree that there's probably more work that needs to be done to the program, just functionality-wise. But ultimately, I think that this plan process is going to be very much an improvement to the game. The only thing that I come up to is the fact that only having 5 milestones ends up being strangely limited. But I think even that can be worked around.
Plans also allow you to share lists of skills with each other and interact with them inside the EVE Online client. EVE Online is now fully native on Mac, with a brand new client bringing a wave of improvements. These include improved graphics and visual effects, reduced RAM and power usage, full support for Mac keyboards and mice, and more. To commemorate this release, you can log in now for daily rewards such as new Quaif Zero Green Apple and celebratory skins until the 19th of October.
So, this rolled out today, with the Mac client on Tuesday. So this Pulse, you could argue that this Pulse video was waiting for the Mac client to be ready. Which leads me to wonder how many other things have been waiting on that, because that's a big deal. It's the kind of thing that could function as a blocker to other unrelated developments, like say DirectX 12 or something. I don't, maybe potentially. And so I wonder how much of a hurdle this is to get past. I don't know. They haven't said anything about it. It might be worth asking, but just the fact that this came up right now and they're bringing highlight to it, and the fact that they made a whole thing about the logins, rewards, and all that stuff, like, you know, basically creating it for a new client is, creating a new client for a native OS isn't a nothing.
Speaking of gateways, EVE Online has now launched on the Epic Games Store. This has opened up the gates of New Eden to players with no previous experience of EVE and will bring in waves of new capsuleers, expanding the EVE community.
No. So, first of all, I don't know, man. Is the Epic Games Store that popular yet? Like, it's already, this is my question. It's already on Steam. Do we know how much of a population has access to the Epic Games Store that uses the Epic Games Store to search for their games that don't already also have Steam? Is that a demographic? Because I mean, like, I feel like it's mostly you have Steam, and then you might have Epic if you're okay with what they did or whatever. Like, some people, yeah, exactly. Everybody on Epic seems, I would imagine that, like, the Venn diagram is a circle inside of a circle, mostly. Maybe like a little sliver out. Either way, my point is, or not my point, but one thing I do want to say about this is that I believe there's also a program where if you buy like Plex or other things through the Epic Games Store, you can support your content creators. Like, I supposedly can do this where, you know, whatever. I haven't figured it all out, and I need to talk to CCP Swift about it some more, because it doesn't seem to be set up right. But I don't know if it's me or somebody else, and it hasn't been an extreme priority. But that is a thing, just so you know. Like, other content creators have probably got it figured out way further than I have. So, you know, it just is another opportunity that if you're already going to buy Plex or whatnot, this is just an extra little perk to be able to support your content creator.
For recruitment, training.
One thing I do wonder about this, though, is Epic Games... Two things. One, would Epic Games ever throw in there a free something for EVE? Like, Epic Games does a free game every couple of weeks. So would it ever be like a content pack for EVE Online? Hard to say. That'd be a big deal, though. Let's see. Was there anything else I had to say about it? Oh, my other question is, given the fact that we have like issues with Steam players not being able to play it on like the main client or whatever, or like if any problems happening with Steam that them being locked out of their client, or like having to purchase their updates, or like they have to get different bundles because they're on Steam, I wonder if that issue will replicate over to the Epic Games Store.
And integration by established player corporations and alliances. To celebrate their arrival and this occasion, brand new bronze, silver and gold starter packs plus a cybersuit pack have been launched in the EVE store. These packs contain Omega, Plex, thousands of skill points, as well as stunning semiotic superluminal skins and apparel. Each pack is available for purchase once per account, paving the way for capsuleers to warp straight into the action in style, with boosted skill training and Plex to spend. Furthermore, you can buy the fantastic new semiotic superluminal skin on the popular Astero and Stratios Sisters of Eve ships for 110 Plex each in EVE Online's New Eden store. A new dev blog has been uploaded on the subject of EVE Online's new technology platform, Quasar. Check out the blog on the EVE News website and find out how we're setting course for EVE forever.
Hold on. Okay, so when he got to this section, I I was like, oh, good. He's going to explain Quasar in like a TLDR English version for the show. Great. That'll help. And then he just says, Go look at the dev blog, as if that's going to explain things to people who are not technically proficient. But they just dodge over the topic completely.
You can now summon the Swarm in a new update to Capital gameplay with the Concord Rogue Analysis Beacon, or CRAB for short. Anchor this device in low-sec or not.
Is this really live yet? Does anybody know? Can you actually use the beacons yet? I didn't think you could use the beacons. Did that come out this week? No. So that's really weird because they made sure that the Mac client thing was correct, but this came out early. They probably clearly wanted this out today, this week, but they maybe were down a little bit, back a little bit.
Nullsec, and it will attempt to scan for data on nearby rogue drone threats. If the scan completes, you will be rewarded, but there's always the risk of local rogue drones trying to destroy your beacon before it gathers any intel. Check it out now on the Singularity test server. The best ship skins of 2021 bundle will be available in the EVE store from the 14th of October for any of you who missed out on these gorgeous nano coatings the first time around. The contents include skins such as the Thanatos Green Demons, Orca Rockbreaker Pioneers, Rattlesnake Vampires Hex, Orthrus Ghosts Hex, Nyx Ultraviolence Vortex, and more.
I'm going to just say it. I don't like the fact that this is on the cash shop only. I don't like the fact that this isn't a Plex bonus. In fact, I was going to go on the Nest store yesterday, buy a pack of these, and do them as giveaways, but I can't because you can't buy them with Plex. And so, you know, we all talk about like, oh, old EV. In fact, we were just talking about old CCP versus new CCP or whatever and like whatnot. But like back in the day, they worked with NVIDIA to let you buy a video card with Plex, right? Like it was a strong focus to open up the ability to use Plex in different things. And so the idea that they're introducing more and more things that can't be purchased with Plex and requires actual cash, that's something I don't like.
The inaugural publication of the Community Beat is now live on eveonline.com. Every 2 weeks, this will guide you through the vast EVE community and shine a spotlight on in-game events, developer correspondence, CSM reports, and much more. Whether you're new to EVE or just looking to expand your community horizons, be sure to check it out.
Isn't it a little bit weird that there's an update that tells you about an update? Like, isn't that just super indicative of like the fragmented social platform that is EVE's, you know, community program? Like they have a video that's an update, regular update that's supposed to give you all your news about EVE Online for this time, and they point you to a blog that has your weekly update about EVE Online. I guess it's worth saying that there's that much, you know, like it's worth 2 updates, I guess.
That's all for this episode of The Pulse. Thank you for joining us. Remember to check the description below for more information on all the stories that we've covered. And hit subscribe to stay notified of any new videos that we post. See you next time.
All right, so we're going to like this one, obviously, but there's one thing I don't like about this one. There's one thing I don't like about this video, and it's what is missing, which is that yet last night they released a new scope video in the evening time, which was really bizarre for me. But I managed to find it within 50 minutes, and so, you know, got it on Reddit for the sweet, sweet karma. Oh, hold on, actually, before I do that, let me just wrap this up and say, if this is what you're watching, thank you for watching. There's more things, more clips from this on the main video and other broken out sections, such as my reaction to the scope video, which I'm about to get into. So if this is the just your pulse video, I'll see you next time, and I'll see you in space. I mean, you know, you know, it was. Well, I'll get better at that. Yeah, here's the trailer for the announcement. Yeah, I know it's a black screen. All right. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and this is going to be my reaction to the scope video that was released just yesterday, if you're watching this live. If you are just watching this part, then it's part of a larger videos. So there'll be other videos available on my channel, including the reaction to the Pulse video, which is this one. And I was just saying that the thing that bothered me the most about the Pulse video was the fact that it doesn't even mention the scope video. You know, this has been an ongoing problem, which is that the lore of the game is incredibly interesting. People are actually interested in it, but CCP, like, doesn't just not showcases it, but hides it. And this is a perfect example, right? So yesterday, they released the scope video last night, in like the middle of the night, or not middle of the night, but like way later. So it wasn't in its normal time. So that's fine. It was but then this morning they released the new Pulse video, and that does two things. First of all, the Pulse video is also on the launcher, but the scope video is not. And so rather than point to the scope video, it actually covers up the fact that the scope video even happened, right? So it makes it even easier to have missed it. And that is just frustrating. But thankfully, we didn't miss it. So now we're going to jump into it and watch it, because holy shit, is there so much to talk about.
Yesterday marked a year since 27 systems fell under Triglavian rule and collectively became known as the region of Poshven. Emotions were high and feelings mixed at the unveiling of the Edencom memorial to the Triglavian invasions that took place in July yesterday. This is a memorial to a war that, despite Edencom's successful defense of nearly 150 systems, led to the loss of the Poshven systems and billions of people to the invading Triglavians. The Triglavian invasions cost millions upon millions of lives and left billions living under appalling circumstances in the Triglavian-occupied systems. Conflicts still rage on many worlds of Poshven, with resistance continuing as best it can. Some refugees from these systems have spoken out, taking exception to the memorial. These groups feel it is inappropriate to raise a memorial to a war that is not yet over, and that Edencom should reinvigorate their efforts to liberate the systems.
Hi. So let's talk a little bit about why these kinds of things get made, right? And this goes into a conversation that I've been having on the Discord in the evenings over the last couple of days, in which we've been talking about the difference between like a novel's lore or like a movie's lore, the story of a, you know, in a more traditional sense, versus the lore of a video game, right? You know, I've talked about the importance of lore in video games and why it's interesting, and I actually have a video on my YouTube that I should probably remake because the audio is awful, about the value of lore when it comes to game design, at least. But ultimately, one of the differences is in classical storytelling, the story is often designed to help bridge the gap between reality and the story, right? It's designed to help you understand why this universe is different than reality enough to have a suspension of disbelief, and or in the purpose of like sci-fi, designed to explain how we got from here to there, right? When it comes to video games, though, it's important to note that the story is often one of the last things that gets made. We often criticize game companies for, like, you know, making decisions that are designed for forward or whatever, where, like, a good example was like in the early, like, World of Warcraft, back when people actually cared about that game, they introduced, you know, they have a race that's established in the canon as never using arcane magic. And then they come out with an expansion where they now can become wizards, which use arcane magic. And like that was a big deal. And I actually met Chris Metzen at BlizzCon and asked him about that. And he even said to me, he's like, look, man, sometimes decisions come from on high and you don't get to choose. You don't get to say that's not going to happen. All you get to do is figure out why it works. And I think that that really drives home what game design is, or what lore means in game design. So one of the good classic ones that I like to think about is, why are so many games, especially exploration games, set in a post-apocalyptic or post-disaster setting, right? So like Dark Souls, Hollow Knight, Horizon Zero Dawn, all these games are after the fact. Yes, Pepper. And in traditional storytelling, you would want the big thing to be happening, not having happened, right? So why is this so popular in these kinds of video games? Well, it's really simple. If the thing is happening, if it's a story in an interactive medium, then you have to somehow either trick or force the player into playing their role of the story, or make a story that's flexible enough that basically it has no like path so much as just like things, right? Fallout is another good example. So, but if you set your story, or if you set the game after the story has happened, then you've justified the need to go out and explore and look at things and read everything and all that stuff. So if you want a game that rewards exploration, rewards paying attention to the text, paying attention to what's going on, paying attention to environmental clues, then it's simply helpful to have your story set in the ruins of a fallen city, of a fallen situation. So that way, what happened here becomes a natural question. Zelda, the latest one. Every time I try to think of it, like every other Zelda name comes into my head, so I just don't even bother anymore. But right, like all of these open world games are more or less all of them are set after the fact. So, what does that mean about this? Well, CCP, when they make these videos, like, yes, developing the story is important and all that sort of stuff, but the story also is a reflection of the drives of the game. Like, in a very real way, the Triglavian Collective, as an entity, exists as a plot device in a way, but more importantly, as an embodiment of mechanics as metaphor, almost, right? Like, their idea of, like, self-improvement and the proving and all that stuff, like, it is a very interesting culture to dig into, but it's also Breath of the Wild. Thank you. But it's also just super convenient if what you want to do is create, arena-based, things, instance-based PvE and all this other stuff, right? So, like, it isn't a coincidence that these guys are the way they are. Now, let's bring that back to this kind of video. So when they make these scope videos, it's important to forward the story, but it's also important to remember, as with the Pulse video, these are not made like in a vacuum, right? Like, the game itself can't react to our feedback instantly. Like, the development cycle on a best of days is like a 2-month lag time, which is one of the reasons why the player base always feels like that CCP is never listening, because even if they immediately pick up their feedback and immediately start working on it, it could be months before it actually is ready to go. But these kinds of things can be made relatively quickly. And so when I'm hearing this video, what I'm hearing is a response to the common complaints and concerns about invasions, Poshven, Edencom, etc. So while we're watching this, pay attention to how many times they suggest that it's not over, that you should pay attention again, and that this is still important.
That, despite Edencom's successful defense of nearly 150 systems, led to the...
Also, that statement right there leads back to one of the other things I talked about before, which is that the focus on Poshven being formed as Triglavian victory has undermined a sense of accomplishment within people who are pro-Edencom. And what I always lamented was the Edencom guys felt like they just didn't do anything. They just didn't have a chance to win, as it were. And I found that very unfortunate because, man, they fought so hard. They got twice as many fortresses as we got victories, or liminalities, final liminalities. And it just sucked that didn't get recognized and pushed out. And so I was like, man, we just need like it to be outlined that they did a really good job. And I feel like the memorial and some of this language is designed to do that.
Invasions that took place in Ulai yesterday. This is a memorial to a war that, despite Edencom's successful defense of nearly 150 systems, led to the loss of the Poshven systems and billions of people to the invading Triglavians. The Triglavian invasions cost millions upon millions of lives and left billions living under appalling circumstances in the Triglavian-occupied systems. Conflicts still rage on many worlds of Poshven, with resistance continuing as best it can. Some refugees from these systems have spoken out, taking exception to the memorial. These groups feel it is inappropriate to raise a memorial to a war that is not yet over, and that Edencom should reinvigorate their efforts to liberate the systems. A broadcast made from the Triglavian collaborator Seriatim Foucault has only added more pain to those grieving on this somber occasion.
Before we watch this dude, because boy howdy is this guy interesting. A lot of people, I'm sure many of the people that are watching this video, had no idea who Seriatim Foucault is. He is a guy who's been involved for almost 6 months now. He's shown up a few times, but if the only way that you pay attention to things is if they make a scope video about it, then you had no idea who this guy was. He's shown up in the tickers a few times, but the way that he showed up was, I made a video about this. It's on my YouTube. We did interviews and all that stuff. But a few months back, Dutch Gunner, a member, one of the leaders of Arataka Research Consortium, put together an RP event where people would go into Poshven in order to rescue civilians trapped on a planet. And there was a post on the in-character forums in which Dutch Gunner was basically negotiating with the Kybernauts, and, you know, by Kybernauts, I mean all pro-Triglavians, so Strybog and all them, in order to get them to let them do it, because Poshven is really dangerous. And while Maldavius was at first being interested... Here, let me just pull this up. I'll try to. While Maldavius was, at first, seemed amicable to a negotiation, it was Seriatim Foucault that ended up showing up in that thread and shutting it down completely. Give me a second. I'm going to just search for his name on the fiction portal. Hold on. Let me... Really? There we go. So here's the post. Like I said, Dutch Gunner was asking for permission. There was a lot of back and forth, and Maldavius was even being okay with it. And then in comes Foucault. Dang it. Who says, I speak for the internal Triglavian revolutionary organization with the consent of convocation of Triglav outside of the struggle. The weaving of Poshven continues, and cladistic proving through the dialectics of the concrete is in effect. Conditions within Poshven are evolving towards the optimal for continued development of human potential within the struggle. There is no requirement for mass evacuations at this time. Organizations with a history of experimentation with forbidden hive linking and associations with capsuleers in favor of forbidden hive linking and dominance arrangements are not welcome in Poshven. Attempts to seize aspirant Neurania and remove them from the proving will not be tolerated by the Clades. Interference with the weaving and the struggle is Poshloft's activity, and proving Kybernauts are exhorted to defend Poshven from infection by forbidden hive linking and dominance ideologies. So, this guy has, well, so is Arc Sancho aligned? So, the theory is that when Sancha was attacking the Arc structure, the Arc Astrahus, Uriel used a semiosis, a Svarog semiosis console and a brain in a jar, I think it was, to try to communicate with Svarog to get them to come and help against Sancha. And so he suspects that they are now being accused of being Sancha for that reason. Either way, the point here is that Seriatim has been here since May 14th, and he came out the door swinging and claiming to be in charge, or like being able to speak for the convocation. The Seriatim means taking one subject after another in regular order, right? So, in a structured way. And then Foucault is a French last name, I want to say. Yeah, French philosopher, historian of ideas, writers, and political activists. So his name seems like a pretty clear reference, right? Like he's this methodical political activist, as it were. Okay. All that to say, this guy's pretty fucking weird. So let's go ahead and watch it.
Citizens of New Eden, subornist Kybernauts, I am Seriatim Foucault, sub-commander of the internal Triglavian Revolutionary Organization. I speak to you with the consent of the convocation of Triglav outside the struggle. It has been one standard year since the realization of totality by the Triglavian Collective and their Kybernaut allies. On the first day of totality, the weaving of Poshven began, and this great work of stabilization continues even now. As required by the Clades of Triglav.
I'm actually going to pause it right here and we'll watch it a little bit in a second, but I want to go back to this guy again. So, man, is he emotive, right? Like, this dude is bouncing around. He's turning around. He's got weird hand signals. He's probably the most animated character that we've ever seen. In fact, actually, let me see if I can do this real quick.
Shows a Triglavian invasion fleet staging area. Evidently several...
Shh. I think this is the one. Yeah. Oh. No, it's not. This is a... Well, like, this one, like, obviously, they're just using idle ones. Ah, here we go. I found it. So this one is from December 12th, 2019. So this is relatively early. But as you can see, this is Cassia Valkenir talking. She's much more subtle. There isn't a lot of body animations. They have done other body animations before. But, you know, like, they certainly know how to do subtlety in animations if they want to. There has been a question of, like, is this done... Like, is this just bad animation? Is this animators that are getting a bit too happy about it? Is this because his face is covered and so they need to have him be emotive otherwise? Although Zoria usually doesn't dance around because their face isn't showing. So one of the things about this is that CCP has been working on a new animation system. And so there's a part of this that seems to signal to me that maybe this is them, stretching out and showing off a little bit how much their animation system has evolved. And the end of this video kind of reinforces that, which we'll talk about when we get there. But when I watch this dude, my first instinct was to be like, wow, that's crazy. Like, he needs to rein it in a little bit. But when I look at it, it actually seems to be perhaps in character. The fact he seems a little unhinged, right? Like, he's a fanatic. He's a bit kooky. He's excited. He bounces around. He's owning the space. He's not giving you a lecture. He's showing off how awesome they are, right? Like, and to that end, like, you're not the most important part of his presentation. He's not even looking at you half the time. He just expects you to sit there and pay attention. And so in that sense, I actually likened him almost to, like, in a subtle way, like the Joker, right? A little bit more chaotic in his gestures. And we'll see more of it when we get later. But rather than a problem with the animations or maybe a flaw in this video, I actually think that it's safe to understand Foucault as being the kind of guy that would bounce around and not look at the camera when he's giving off a presentation to everybody on the year anniversary of Poshven's establishment.
Continues even now. As required by the clades of Triglav, cladistic proving through the dialectics of the concrete proceeds in the ancient domains. All citizens of New Eden are assured that as the worlds of Poshven continue to evolve with the weaving, so the peoples of Poshven are given every opportunity in the proving. Our Subornist Kybernaut allies have done much to assist the clades in this great work, but we must remain vigilant against interference with the development of human potential. There are many within the corrupt degenerate.
So, what he just said, and there was a question about what is the dialectics of the concrete. That's a good question, ain't it? If you know, go ahead and let us in. Hold on, let's see. Dialectics is a particular form of language which is particular to a specific region or social group. So, it comes from a way of speaking. So, communication. Oh, you're right. That's dialect. That's true. Ha! I think Google decided that I meant something different than I said. All right, Sanskrit guy. I got the URL, unfortunately. Yeah. The art of practice at arriving at the truth by the exchange of logical arguments. Oh, so in the same way as, like, the winnowing of the discourses allows them to kind of settle matters, perhaps the dialectic of the concrete is about, like, communication and establishment of... Because, like, the whole idea is that Poshven isn't done yet. The formation of Poshven was only at the beginning of the conversion process. And so they're still working out what the conversion process looks like, both on the population and on the systems itself. All right. The other thing I wanted to point out is these visuals that they're showing off. These are all new visual sites that they put into Poshven. The clades don't really like each other, and so when they got Poshven, they split Poshven into 3 sets of 9, what they call the Cries. So there's Cry Veles, Cry Perun, and Cry Svarog. And so each of these territories, they actually have invaded and attacked each other as well. Like, they're not being respectful of each other's territory in a lot of places. But either way, unfortunately, outside of, like, the naming of the structures in those systems, there hasn't really been a difference between them. But now we see that a little bit of the character of each of the races is showing up. So in the Svarog one, I think... Is it Svarog? Yeah, I think it's Svarog. gets the shipyards. Yeah. Because the proving grounds is Perun's, and then the Deviant Automata control unit is in Velez. So the various priorities and strengths that each of the clades brings to the table, or at least the aspects of what we know of as the Triglavians, which clade they kind of come from, is starting to showcase themselves. Karl Kosik's work is referenced there. Oh, that's an expression. That's a full expression? Let's go look into that. Dialectics of the Concrete. In his most famous work, Dialectics of the Concrete, Kosik presents an original reinterpretation of the ideas of Karl Marx in light of Martin Heidegger's phenomenology. His later essay can be... okay. So this is Marxist ideologies. I'm sure that that's important. We'll get into... We'll figure that out and talk about it a different time. At any rate, let's go ahead and keep going. By the way, there is a lot going on in the ticker too, but they put out a world news that shows the entire ticker, so we'll go over that separately. Again, that's why Foucault is a good name. Yeah, there's definitely a pretty clear symbol
But
here.
we must remain vigilant against interference with the development of human potential.
What is meant by the development of human potential? The Triglavians are doing biological experimentation on the populations of invaded systems. They are trying to force evolution upon people in order to try to make them good enough, right? Like, so they are trying to transform them into... No, not like Sancha. Sancha is like mind control implants that they put into them. This is like more like mutaplasmids, how mutaplasmids affect our modules. Like, they're literally... They are experimenting on things like bioadapting people to storm planets, for example. So, like, this is pretty intense stuff. We don't actually know how deep it all goes. There is, one of them does use some robotic implants, but most of it is just biomanipulation. And the point is that probably not everybody survives the process, and that's what they mean.
There are many within the corrupt, degenerate order of the old empires, propped up by Concord and Edencom, who continue to impede the destiny of humanity.
Obligatory Concord is the true enemy of all Empyreans. This is another theme that I found very interesting about this. Not to go too deep into this, but there is, one of the grand questions about the Triglavian is, who are they, right? And there's two... really, who are they really? Because, like, we have information about the people who existed back in the day and their names, but we don't know who, if anything, translates into the Triglavians. There are two prevalent theories. One is that they are the Talakan. This is partially because there's references to a Triglavian polity, which could be the sleeper civilization, and the sleeper civilization is also like connected to the Talakan in certain ways. Also, the Talakan had quarantine issues, so it could be possible that they escaped the universe by going into Poshven, or Bouillon, the Abyss. But the other theory is that they are the modifiers, right? So Jovian society is divided between statics and modifiers. Statics believe that they should not continue to do further manipulation or mutation. They should try to preserve the way that things are, whereas modifiers believe that they should continue to experiment and mutate and grow. And this has been a reoccurring conflict throughout the Jovian history. Most famously, the statics, a fair chunk of the statics went on to become the sleepers, because some of the statics literally put themselves into suspended animation, and thus becoming the sleepers. So the accusation that the Triglavians are in fact the modifiers because of their desire to evolve, and they really seem to follow the modifiers' notions, and the fact that they use these biosuits. One of the suggestions is that it could be possible that the Triglavians have been infected by the Jovian disease. Maybe they broke their own biology when they were modifiers, and now their suits are the only things holding them together, right? So those are the two conflicting theories. That said, if the Triglavians are a evolution of the modifier concept, listen again to what Foucault is saying and what he doesn't like and what he does like.
We must remain vigilant against interference with the development of human potential. There are many within the corrupt, degenerate order of the old empires, propped up by Concord and Edencom, who continue to impede the destiny of humanity. These forces of stasis continue to wage a war of desperate inertia against the Glades, Subornist Kybernauts, and our aspirant Narodnia on the worlds of Poshven. Despite this interference, the pathetic reflex of rotting empires, the Clades continue to offer the promise of proving to all living within Poshven. On this auspicious day, a year after totality,
the question is, what is Narodnia? So while we don't necessarily know what the Koshoi or the Nafka is all the time, the Narodnia it just means person, people, right? So we are foreign augmented Narodnia. Sanche is hive-linked foreign Narodnia. And they have their own Narodnia.
I call on Subornist Kybernauts to continue the great work, and I extend the offer of the Clades to all citizens of New Eden.
So this goes back to the first point that I was making, right? So Edencom is having protests because people are saying that it's not over and they should continue to focus on it not being over. The Kybernauts, or Integor, which is this guy's group, is calling for people to come and live in Poshven. Both of these messages are basically saying, invasion isn't over, Poshven isn't over, pay attention to this again, right? Like, this has always been what the Triglavians are about. It's about you going and living in Poshven, going native, and, becoming like the Triglavians, raiding outwards, keeping Poshven safe from outsiders, etc., etc. So, yeah, that in a lot of ways, I think this video is a clear signal for players to pay attention again to these things, and a clear message that it's not over.
Work, and I extend the offer of the Clades to all citizens of New Eden. Enter the proving as aspirant Narodnia. Seize for yourself a life beyond the petty and grasping ideologies of the old order. Join with the flow of Viraj. I am Sub-Commander Seriatim Foucault, and I have spoken with the consent of the convocation of Triglav outside the struggle.
It's also worth noting. So, by the way, that dialectics of the concrete or whatever, the Triglavians have never said that expression to my memory. That is, the times that those have been used have both been by Foucault. So that may just be his own way of spinning things based on his own culture that he brings to the table. As opposed to like the way that the Triglavians themselves would refer to it is. But it is the kind of naming convention that the Triglavians would use. So I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it was used by the Triglavians. I'm going to have to go back through and double check that now that I've said it. But there's something else I was going to say. Shoot. Oh, he also, if you notice, he structures his language, he structures his video, his presentation to be reminiscent of the Triglavians, right? Like the Triglavian messaging has a very structured appearance or a way of doing things. Every one of the 5s and 6s starts with blah, 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 dialectics, semiosis, flow follows. Every presentation by Zoria Triglav begins and ends the exact same way. Zoria explains who they are and who they speak for. We are Zoria Triglav. We speak for the convocation of Triglav outside of the struggle. And so in the same way,
Under Seriatim Foucault, and I have spoken with the consent of the convocation of Triglav outside the struggle.
So he speaks with consent of Triglav outside of the struggle. And this is, I guess, kind of important because it's also reinforced in the text. Like, even before he starts talking, it scrolls past, where is it? Yeah. No. Yeah. Subcommander Seriatim Foucault claims to speak for pro-Triglavian group with consent of Triglavian collective. It's also a headline in the bottom. Also, I'm going to have to fix that before we get back to the window isn't lined up right. Either way. Okay. This time is really, this stands out to me more than anything else in the video. The reason why, I'll get to that afterwards, Riley. The reason why this is interesting to me is that this part didn't need to exist, right? So first of all, the headline turns to Port Sorum in ruins before he even shows anything off. Like, when it cuts back to him, it says Port Sorum in ruins, and that jumped out at me because, like, that hasn't, why is that the headline right now? And then it shows it, right? So, two things. One, this shows a clear escalation in their ability to animate and make set pieces, right? Like, not only has he turned his back and walked around this whole time, but he literally turns around and walks out the door. That's an evolution of what they've been doing with these kinds of videos. I know it may seem simple, but from a technical standpoint, you got to think about it this way. That and the fact that he goes outside and sees outside may have taken as much time as almost any other part of the video. And so the question is, why even do it, right? Do we care where Seriatim is? Should we care? What do we know? Nobody know. Like, Port Sorum, Sorum is one of the 5 noble houses, but like, I could do some searching and stuff like that. But Port Sorum hasn't been a big deal. We do get some more information in the ticker, which we'll go over in a few seconds. But my point is that this entire bit, this entire 5 seconds of this video is completely unnecessary and adds nothing to what we think of as what this video is about, what it's teaching us, or whatever. And yet here it is. It was important enough to them. So what are they showing us? This shows me 2 things. One, where he is relevant. Who this guy is relevant in some way. In the same way that the Foundation Quadrant has really introduced or strengthened the characters that represent each of the empires. You know, Celis Agar, Senmatar, Malakush Shakor, Ariaka, whatever the Kaldari guy is. You know, he's stepping up as being the go-to spokesman for this stuff in a way that Zoria is a bit too formal to do. Like, this guy can get involved, he can get angry, he can get political. And so who he is and a bit of his background might be important to establish. Who knows? The other piece, though, is that, remember, we continue to get closer and closer to a shooter. And as we do, more and more of this game seems to be focused on planets, focused on infrastructure, focused on ground troops, war clones. And when we go back into the headlines, we'll see more of that. So the fact that the fact that this is not they've been showing structures and stuff like that more often, like space stuff or like ground stuff in scope videos, but they've been like concept art with maybe a little bit of animation as like a ship flying by or something like that, right? So, but here you're starting to see more like this is an environment. This is not a background. This is a place that he walks around in and then walks out of. And again, that represents a bit of an advancement in what they're doing, and an experimentation perhaps in what they're doing. So yeah, the other thing that's worth noting is that I sincerely believe that the reason why they use Amarian structures is the same reason why they used Amarian structures in the Eclipse trailer, which is that they have all those Amarian assets built up from the Amar Championship. And so it's just easier for them to make physical structures out of Amarian assets than anything else. But yeah, they show this like it's a grand reveal. But we don't know why it's important. It just seems very interesting, or bizarre to me, I guess. That's true. All of the Foundation videos featured cityscapes, but again, they were more like wide angle, as it were, right? Like most of the time, they were not highly detailed, I guess is a way of putting it.
Since the end of the invasions, a number of Capsuleers loyal to Edencom and the people of New Eden have kept up the resistance in the occupied systems. These fighters have scored several battle victories against the Triglavians and their allies. Even so, it is clear that a major offensive would be needed to have any hope of lifting Triglavian rule and recovering the worlds and people of Poshven. This is Alton Havery reporting for The Scope.
All right, now to wrap this up, we're going to go over the actual tickers. All right, so Edencom Memorial to Triglavian Invasion established in orbit of Ulai star to marks losses to Triglavian Collective. Simple. Public face of internal Triglavian Revolutionary Organization, Integr, makes inflammatory speech on the anniversary of Poshven. That's what we just watched. The classified complex of Edencom installations near Ulai star includes Invasion Command HQ and Stellar Monitoring Facility. The premise behind this is the fact that Ulai has had these structures in here, and this is why Ulai's a blue star, but it was also immune from invasion. Jita was also immune from invasion. And this now decloaked facility is designed to explain why Concord was able to keep this system safe. Federal Intelligence Office reports Federal Intelligence Office report emphasizes threat from, quote, rogue artificial intelligences in conjunction with Triglavian Collective. So this is interesting because so the rogue drones are not a monolith, as I often like to say, and there is a chunk of the Triglavian rogue drones that have sided with the Triglavians, to make a long story short. And those rogue drones are part of the Nafka Overmind. There's also a set of drones called the Unshackled Overmind, which seems odd because when the Triglavians referred to Unshackled, they were talking about the Drifters by saying that the ancient enemy Azdaja they witnessed a forbidden dominance, unshackled and forbidden dominance arrangement. So the fact that there is a rogue drone hive known as the Unshackled Overmind, and that's the rogue drones that we see in Poshven, and were rewarded by the Triglavians by killing them, that makes us wonder what's going on with that hive in particular. Like, we know a lot about, or we have a pretty firm understanding of what the Nafka Overmind is, and a lot of the rogue drone attacks that we've seen so far has been directly responsible by the Triglavians, including the attacks of Edencom facilities, and even the second rogue swarm alert from like 2018 or 2017, even before the Triglavians were even introduced into the game. So the thing is that we just had another rogue drone event, and there was a question about who they belonged to. this seems to suggest, or this could be potentially saying that these are related to, or this is kind of confirming that those drones were connected to the Triglavians, just like the previous few road drone attacks have been. But, as we'll see when we get to the Hoboleaks side of things, this could actually be hinting at exactly the opposite. Sub-Commander Seriatim Foucault, Seriatim, whatever, claims to speak for pro-Triglavian groups. Yes, we saw that. Security alert in Y4YZ TAC-Q constellation after Intaki Space Police listening post reportedly destroyed by unknown forces in ZNO TAC-SR. I don't know what this is, but it feels like this is going to be important. What are the Intaki doing in this nullsec area? I don't even know really what this nullsec area is, but it isn't the first time that this has come up. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Serpentis Corporation and Intaki Space Police issued joint statement alleging conspiracy by renegade security forces in Placid, Solitude, and Syndicate. Is there anything here? Protest in Intaki Prime. Oh, no, that's the faction warfare stuff. Yeah. Intaki Space Police demands Galente Federal Intelligence Office share information on recent terrorist outages in Syndicate, Placid, and Solitude. So this is one of those things that it feels like they're just laying down the groundwork, and it will probably come into something, but it's going to be really hard to understand what it is until then, I would say. Veles Clade and Rogue Drone's cooperation claimed by AI research scientists monitoring bizarre installation in Riashota. This is the Veles Clade structure that is basically that structure is the Nafka Overmind, as it were. Amar Empress Katis I personally officiates at, quote, prayer for the righteous martyrs at Grand Basilica and Saint Guineac, the first prophet. This is slow-burning Amar stuff. Massive Triglavian structure in orbit in Skarkon 2 identified as major capital shipyard built by Svarog Clade. So again, Veles has road drone structures. That giant structure that was built, or that giant shipyard that you see at the end, which is similar to the shipyard you see in the Abyss that's building Zernitras, is being identified as being, or is Svarog's. And so Svarog is known for their novel weapon systems. And hold on, let me and big construction. The Veles is more known for mass scale construction, but perhaps these, the bigger ships are Svarog. As a matter of fact, we can also look up whether or not the Zernitra is Svarog. Edencom Provost Marshal Kashia Valkanir vows to recover and restore lost worlds in speech memorial to Triglavian invasions. Again, like, if CCP is either suggesting that there's more to this story or really rubbing salt in the wound. I guess it's up to you to decide which one you believe. Samatar Shakor, Tribal Council and Republic Parliament holds ceremonies honoring Mimitar war dead on Matar. Don't know if that's, like, I think that's just continually wrapping up various things. Concord Derail Anti-AI Division expands operations in Placid in intelligent-led operations under UI Accords and Convention. This is weird. So this is that they started finding ancient artifacts in a moon. Like, some players started doing some stuff in Ugalis, and that's when Derail, which is their anti-AI division, stepped in. It's unknown whether or not this is related to, like, an ancient, well, like, there's I don't know where this is going, but it's going to be interesting with all of this rogue drone stuff happening. The question is this Derail situation dealing with the rogue drones? Because it really feels like they're going after a different kind of AI. Svarog Clay continued to fight Mimitar resistance and Veles incursion while extracting resources from Skarkon 2. This goes back to what I was talking about. Veles and Svarog don't like each other. And it's actually kind of funny because, like, the argument about rogue drones started because Svarog Clay's holdings got raided by the rogue drones. And they got really mad about that. And now there's the Veles Clade raiding into the Svarog Clade. Anyway. Federation President Celis Agard attends Invasion Memorial Service in Encianite, whatever, in Central Garun on Galente Prime. Again, so, like, Shakor, Catus the First, President Selis Agard. Each of them are giving some sort of presentation, right? Hey, Dutch, I was just talking about you. Perunclade reportedly shipping large numbers of converted people into space. There you go. Converted people. Okay. Claims Caldari Resistance Network. Perun, I believe, are the most muted, like, into the muted adaptives. We'll see about that. Concord is run by the others now. How? I would call the idea that Concord is being run by the other to be highly unlikely, simply because Matashi Reich is on the Concord Inner Council now. What were we talking about? Well, I don't know if you've seen this, but you remember that NPC character that decided to rain on your parade? He's back in a big way. Leak of report of Caldari Navy scouts supporting Como resistance movement describe diplomatic ships visiting Perun proving grounds. Marshal Valkenir condemns integral spokesman Seriatim Foucault as a traitor to civilization and collaborator with ruthless invaders. Capsuleer Alliance shifts as Siege Green officially joins the Winter Coalition, while Brave Collective invades the Pureblind region. Veil Federal Resistance and Movement shares intelligence on Velisclade, indoctrination, and invasive bioadaptive methods with Senate Security Committee. CEP Chairman Akima Saraki formally inters ashes of anonymous invasion war dead from Caldari State in Landfall Shrine Necropolis. So once again, all four Empire's leaders are giving some sort of memorial presentation. I don't know if that's relevant, but I mean, like, it's clearly a through line, so each of those kind of explains why the other one's there, if that makes sense. Uli Diplomatic Committee closes ranks to deny wild rumors to extensive contact with Triglavian Collective and Poshven. This is something that's very weird. This keeps cropping up in the world news headlines. This accusation or denial of accusation of collaboration or negotiation between Edencom and the Triglavian Collective. Wild if true. We'll see what happens. But it is also, like, I feel like this is also kind of a hint to that, where, like, diplomatic ships visiting the Perun Proving Grounds. Okay, so wild rumors. Colonel Ovig Dursk. Ovig Dursk is Angry Concord guy, right? If you've ever seen Angry Concord guy, that's Ovig Dursk. So from the what is it? Rubicon trailer, the ghost site. The guy who's like, you're talking about the ghost sites and stuff in the big presentation. Yeah, that's Ovig Dursk basically. All right, pretty sure. And he was more or less in charge of most of Concord's stuff that we dealt with up until the rise of, sorry, Drust. You're right. It's not even Durst. Drust. I've been pronouncing that wrong for years. No one's ever corrected me that I can remember. Either way. Kasia Valkenir, which I'm also pronouncing wrong, by the way. She stepped in as kind of the head of the new Aegis division, which kind of took the limelight of the story from the Sorrow division, the special, the anti-war clone unit is what's weird is that the Aegis unit was originally designed to be like their anti-foot soldier or their like ground troop or boarding party team. So I would assume that would be associated with Aegis and therefore Edencom. But here we see Ovig Drusk, appointed commander of Sorrow Red Troop as notorious anti-war clone unit, coordinates with Concord's anti-AI division. So I assume that Red Troop is their anti-war clone unit that they're referring to, which I don't think I've ever heard of before. The only thing about Red is that the Triglavian and Drifter threat, the emerging threats, are classified as Case Red Gamma. I don't know if that's relevant. But that anti-AI division is Derail, which again has really jumped up in plot, like emerged probably about 6 months ago, and up until now has basically been exclusively dealing with something going on in Ugalis. which is a system in the Caldari Galente war zone, for those of you who don't know. Senator Suvio Belleron requests Senate Intelligence Committee investigation into Derail and Sorrow activities in the Caldari Galente militia war zone. Yeah, that. So, again, there have been raids in Yagalis. There was investigations. We don't actually know the results of these or why they're doing it, but apparently now the Suvio Belleron is he's interesting. He's a well-known, as far as senators go, he's a well-known Galente figure, but he's famous for being in opposition of President Celis Agard. When Celis Agard was elected to the presidency, there was a bill on the table, basically, the anti-capital punishment bill that was known as the Belleron bill. And so the question when she was elected was whether or not she would have to sign this thing. That she didn't really want to ban capital punishment, but she may have to for political expediencies. And this was something that the previous president, President Rodin, kind of set up for her, because like this happened on his watch, and he just kind of decided not to act upon the bill, setting up this kind of this tension between Celis Agard and Belleron. Now, during the gate building event, or just after, it was reported that Celis Agard's her request for funding was in fact approved, and she was successful in getting everything she wanted, basically, while still being able to veto the Belleron bill. So she basically dunked Belleron, this Suvio Belleron guy, and the way she did it was with the assistance of Intaki. The Intaki senators were the ones that were credited for, because they sided with her. She was able to push through in spite of the resistance and the demand for her to kowtow to the Belleron bill. So it's interesting that he now is stepping up and calling attention to that very region, right? Because Intaki is like the heart of the Galente Caldari war zone. Inner Circle renews authorization to deploy Aegis boarding units in counter-subversion operations in stations in orbital infrastructure. This goes back, again, it's all about planets. It's all about structures. And more importantly, remember, Aegis was made originally. Aegis was the organization for Nova, like Project Nova, the one that was the shooter that predate the previous iteration of their shooter project before whatever it is now, right? Aegis was created to be like the framework for that game. It was Aegis versus Sancha, more or less. And then when that all fell apart and invasion started, Aegis was kind of repurposed into Edencom. But there's always been this kind of notion about planets, planetary things, boarding parties, etc. The development of new war clone technology, i.e., foot soldiers that have backup personality backup technologies, etc. So this is very, I would like to think of this as another signal that we're getting very close to getting more information about the shooter. Secure Commerce Commission, FTL Network Security Chief summoned before Inner Circle following Foucault's broadcast and FTL communications relay. This is fine. SEC is just the guys in charge of that sort of stuff, so of course he's the one being called in front to answer for what the fuck just happened. Federal Military Command Commissions initiates investigation into Ostakon Agency and Federation military links over the former member of Seriatim Foucault. Ooh. Ostrakhan Agency, a mercenary corporation that has made a practice of hiring dishonorably discharged members of the Galente military. The Ostrakhan Agency is considered to be a rather suspect organization by the Galente media and are regularly run stories about its activities. Unperturbed, the agency... I know where I know this from. Unperturbed, the agency carries on its business of contradicting soldiers and other personnel for service in conflict throughout New Eden. Oh, shoot. I'm not showing it all. Sorry. Okay. So, what... as soon as I saw this name, I was like, man, I know that from somewhere. No, well, it might have been a Dust Corp, but more importantly, you know the agency, like the UI element in game, the thing that tells you your missions and other things like the event stuff, your tutorial, the thing I keep saying that they need to repurpose and call it Aura instead. That agency, yeah, it's called the agency after that agency because they bought the agency from Scope, i.e. they bought the distribution rights to communicate Capsuleer, to give Capsuleers basically bounties. They're the ones that got it from Scope. And they've been kind of quiet. And to the point where I've even said that, I've argued this many, many times, that they should just rename it Aura and just totally dump the whole, this whole plot because, like, they never went anywhere with this. And so, So if they're suggesting that Seriatim Foucault is from there, that's kind of cool. Also, that reminds me of another thing about Seriatim Foucault, which I didn't go into earlier, but hold on. Eve forums. So it's harder to see at this time because, obviously time has passed. But when this post was first made, when this post by Seriatim Foucault was made, we checked on that day, and on that day, his character was created 333 days prior. He had joined the Triglavian collective, or his current organization, 333 days before his first post on the forums. Not required, or probably just an Easter egg, but kind of a funny one. So, in fact, let's go ahead and look him up in game. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Known alias of Lieutenant Colonel Simon Val Foucault. So he added the name. He changed his first name. Subcommander Integer, known member of Integer leadership echelon, claims affiliation with Convocation of Triglav. Integer links with Triglavian collectives conferred by Ecom Intelligence, Concord Directive Intelligence Agency, and Federal Intelligence Office. And then if you go over here to Employment Agency or Employment History, you'll see that he was part of the Ostakon Agency. He went from the Navy to Crux Special Task Group, which is this is actually a dust group, but this was a very special dust group. This was related to, well, it says so right here. In April YC 108, following certain archaeological discoveries in the Crux constellation, which is one of the reasons why it's kind of interesting that there's archaeological discoveries in the ULI system, the Galente Federation assembled a special task group reporting directly to the Federal Intelligence Office. Whatever the Crux discoveries amounted to has never been made public, and those who led this expedition are currently listed as working for the federal government in various confidential roles. The Crux Special Task Group was eventually privatized under the federal directive and licensed to carry out paramilitary operations in the corporate security sector. Also, the Crux Special Task Group was one of the groups that were used during the Dread attacks by the EOM. So, Also, I believe that this plot was one of the early foreshadowings, or whatever you want to call it, of the original Dust 514 story. So there's kind of a repetition here then. Probably worth noting. Let's see. Amar Empire's Privy Council meets as cultist hunt continues and military circuits under scrutiny and imperial military expansion continues. This is a matter of the continuation of the EOM story. Like, since the EOM event with the Dread attacks, there's basically been an ongoing, what's the word? inquisition within the Amar Empire. Analysis of visuals of Seriatim Foucault indicates location on occupied Rarivos 3, close to destroyed city of Port Sorum. So this circles back and answers that whole thing about where he's at, right? So Rarivos was the first system to ever fall to the Triglavians. It was the first final liminality. However, Foucault's name suggests, and his association with the Crux Special Task Group suggests that he's Galente. 1 second. I don't know if this is even... Actually, let's go look to Kybernauts.space and look at the invasion information from there. Rarivos, yeah. So Rarivos is an Amarian place, which is why it's an Amarian city. But Foucault is Galente. Now, they have kind of made sure to point out that the Galente, especially the Galente in Vale, have been the most willing to join the Triglavians, as it were. Like, I've always kind of joked around about the fact that the democratic nature of the Galente Federation is such that when the Triglavians came in, the locals there were just like, oh, under new management, that's fine, whatever, and just kept on going. I guess we're part of Triglav now. And so it seems to suggest that Foucault probably lived in Vale, but now has since moved to Rarivos. Is that important? I don't know. They certainly made a point to point it out twice. Edencom Intelligence Directorate issues report noting resilience of local resistance movements in Poshven despite differing approaches of clades. So again, this is just one last little note that's reminding you that this isn't over. That the Poshven is not going smooth sailing. It's not done. There's reason to resist. So, especially with the idea that this quadrant is going to be short, next quadrant is going to be like kicking things off. I think that a lot of this stuff is going to be important as setup. I think that's about it for this. And then next we will go into what we have learned from Hoboleaks. So if you're watching this video as the short version of the video, you can check out the other video, or you can check out the longer video that has all of these all together. All of it will be, or is on the YouTube. Without that, on that note, I've been Ashrathi, and I'll see you in space. All right, and finally, let's set up the Hoboleaks thing. Actually, hold on. With all of that moving things around, let's go ahead and do like behind the scenes for a few seconds. Whoop. I'm just going to go like... Carnage Rose, it's so good to see you, man. All right, good, good. Let's see, what time is it? Oh yeah, we got to get going. We got to keep going. See you on the flip side. Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashrathi, and this is just a part of multiple videos that we are making today because we've had a lot to go over for the Eve Universe show. So if you want to check out the whole thing, the big video will be on there. Or if you're just watching this video by itself, then you can check out the other video topics on the YouTubes. That being said, we are now going to be talking about Hoboleaks and some of the newer stuff that we think / know are going to be coming. And just real quick, Riley, we've already done a response to the Pulse video and a response to the Scope video, so you can go check those out as well. So here we have a bunch of newer stuff that were patched in 8 hours ago, which is this morning, Friday, October 15th. What we're seeing here is basically what we're going to be going over today is the Crimson Harvest. and a little bit more about the Edencom stuff and the Roadrunner stuff that seems to be boiling up. So, first of all, we get new Deathglow Remnant skins. These are, the Halloween skins. All of them say that they apply directly, which generally speaking means that they are either a login reward or the track, as you do the event, you work your way through the track, these are the skins that you get. That's when they do these applies directly ones. However, we also get these Ironblood skins, which, golly, Ironblood skins are awesome. I love these. I hope that so chances are, either these are the track rewards. One of these two are for doing the event, and the other one's likely for the login rewards. I'm really hoping that it's the Ironblood skins that will be for the login rewards, because Ironblood skins for Kur, Ashimu, and Balgorn would just be sexy. Hold on, let me show those off a little bit. I can't show you those because I'm on Tranquility right now, but I can show you Ironblood in general. Ironblood was a skin that came out actually for about the time of, I think, the first Crimson Harvest, first or second, and I was really hoping to collect these, but as it turns out, that's when they put out the Black Iron or whatever, those skins, and those were collectible. So most of these skins were either extraordinarily difficult to get or completely ungettable, which sucks, because as far as skins go, maybe not compared to some of the newest skins, but at least for their time, they were some of the coolest skins that were out there. They are a Blood Raider skin that also changes the lighting and stuff, which is more common now, but was this was one of the first ones that did this kind of thing. And they just look really sick compared to, I like that red a little bit more than the Rada. It's slightly darker. I love Ironblood skins. So the idea that we're going to get them for the Blood Raider ships, I love it. I love it. Okay, so then we also have normal Blood Raider skins for the Amarr, for some Amarr ships. These could also be login rewards. Hard to say. There's a lot of stuff, isn't there? And then there's Artichaper and Sorum skins. So this leads into what I think is going to be happening in this, and we'll look at more of the clues too, which is that just like last year, there's going to be two ways of doing it, right? So last year, you could either go and fight Blood Raiders, which had one sort of reward, and then you could also go after the Silver Flame, which was a Dust Corporation mercenary group that was associated with the Amarr. Actually, it's Sorum's military group, if I remember correctly. And at the time, it was kind of just shoot in there. I suspect that it was used because at the time, Flossiswin and Sorum and all that stuff was very applicable. And you see how Sorum skins here. But we also see another group, the Order of St. Tetramon. We've seen Order of St. Tetramon stuff being put in the files over the last couple of months. And now we see why. So now it looks like there's going to be 3 different groups associated with this. Because here's the Harvest, which is the Blood Raiders. Here's Tetramon. And never mind, it may just be Blood Raiders versus Tetramon. I thought I saw... Nope, yeah, it's just Blood Raiders versus Tetramon. So chances are you will have to, whichever one you choose will give you different rewards. I don't know whether or not, they may make it so it's 2 different tracks, like they did with, Mimitar, where you have to choose one side or the other, and that means something. They might do that, but in a lot, at the very least, it looks like basically what they've done is they've taken last year's event and repurposed it as being Tetramon instead of the Silver Flames. And so, for instance, so by that, we can assume that there'll be 2 different kinds of sites. There'll be a combat site, and there'll be a hacking site. That these key cards will be able to be gotten probably in the hacking site, and basically there's 2 different gates, and this key card allows you to skip ahead, right? Because the idea is that, obviously, the final boss is the grand prize, So by using this key card, you can get on the inside where the boss is before your opponent can. And so this represents kind of like a different way of having an edge in these kinds of sites. So there'll be, in this sense, there's Blood Raider sites and there's Tetramon sites. For the Blood Raider sites, it was direct payouts and there was like overseer effects because, they're pirates. For the Tetramons, there was blank clones, or there was, war clones that you would then take because, special, or not special task group, but Silver Flames are, dust mercs basically. And so you would take those war clones to Blood Raider systems and sell and turn them into them. So here we see new drugs. So we see Nosferatu boosters so boosts to your Nos usage, cycle time, which is pretty good. Also bonus to capacitor, armor resistance booster, energy turret optimal range and tracking booster, energy warfare resistance booster, which is kind of interesting. So this is basically taking this is almost the equivalent of having a cap battery on your ship when it comes to reducing the amount of drain that a neutralizer does to you. Web of Fire range bonus. These are always cool. We got one of those in one of the previous events, but obviously the Blood Raiders are well known for their additional range in their webs. So this makes sense. And when combined, but the one thing that is worth noting is that unlike most of these, this is not a percentage. This is just raw number. So if you take this will give you about a 15k cold web with like a T2. But it doesn't like unfairly bias to the people who have like pushed their webs to like 300 million ISK to be able to go to 15, right? 15 will just go to 20. Which is a third bonus, whereas 10 will go to 15, which is half bonus, if that makes sense. Energy turret damage. So we have tracking, we have application bonuses from Tetramon, and we have damage bonuses from Blood Raiders. Weapon design, and then also, so Tetramon have anti-warfare resistance, whereas the Blood Raiders have anti-weapon disruption bonuses, which if you think about it, that's what the Amar use, is weapon disruption. It's also a pretty interesting note, or like it's a pretty good hint that the Tetramon sites will very likely have tracking disruption in it. And then armor resistances, capacitor capacity, which of course capacitor capacity also increases recharge rate. Or recharge rate, how much you recharge per tick. Anything visible here? Behavioral webifier, warp scrams, tracking disruption, neutralizers, sensor damps. So Tetramon heretics, do them all, baby. There may be something up here that like turns them on or off, but it really does look like they these little destroyers will do all of the E-Wars, basically. This one has newts, and that's about it. And this one has newts, and that's about it. No webs? Oh well. And then this is the hacking system, right? So there's also data sites to hack. So these will be the cans inside of them. And there's Crimson Harvest node networks and Tetramon node networks. I bet you that some of these sites will spawn in maybe Amar space, and some of them will spawn in Crimson Heart, like Blood Raider, low sec, null sec space. I don't know. We'll see. Also, I forgot to mention this, but this association with Artichoper, there is a close association with Artichoper and House Tetramon, if I didn't mention that earlier. I believe. some Amarian guy will probably correct me if I'm wrong. All right, so that is a lot of information about the Crimson Harvest, but that's not all of the information that we have that's worth looking at. No, not that there's no cruisers. Remember, this is only detecting things being added. So there has been other ships and assets being put in previously in previous like patches or whatever. This is just what we're catching right now. So I would not be surprised. And we also, I mean, they have assets from last year too. Just updating skins, other stuff. Mutaplasmids, which we'll get into. All right. And then in the strings, let's see if there's anything about the Crimson Harvest before I jump into anything else. Yeah. Here we go. During the Crimson Harvest, the Blood Raider cultist pirates will be clashing with the fundamentalist warrior monks of the Order of Tetramon across New Eden. Choose a side and support, and you will receive agency challenges with additional rewards each time you attack or hack the sites that belong to your side's enemies. So there you go. This will choose which faction's agency challenges you wish to receive for the Crimson Harvest event. You will receive extra rewards for attacking and hacking the other side. So, this is your first opportunity to actually, tangibly side with a pirate faction. That's pretty cool. The rewards for each faction are equivalent, and you will not be penalized for attacking both sides. Oh, okay, so you can attack both sides? I'm not sure how I understand that. I do, like, this line freaks me out, because during the Mimitar one, it said the fact of rewards are equivalent and doesn't show you what rewards were available ahead of time. And so a lot of people felt that it said, oh yeah, you'll get the same rewards either way. And then they make a choice, and then they realize that that's not true, and they can't take it back. It's too, they don't even understand the situation until it's too late. That sucked. So I hope that this is not a repeat of that mistake, and instead is them figuring out how to do it right, but we'll see. There's the final descriptions of the rogue drone analysis beacons, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. This is all the rogue drone stuff. Rogue drone stuff. Rogue drone stuff. Rogue drone stuff. T-shirt. The Blood Raiders are a fanatical splinter cell of the ancient cult called Seedsaplenty, which uses blood in their rituals. So this is just a basic description. This is going to be probably one of the... There'll be a like Blood Raider apparel crate as a login reward or something. These is the skins. Here are the boosters. The cerebral this is the accelerators. Information on Blood Raiders. The Blood Raider Covenant is a particularly gruesome sect of Seedsaplenty cult. While all modern Seedsaplenty rituals use blood in some manner or another, the Blood Raiders Covenant places particular value on it and will go to great lengths to acquire it in what they believe is the richest and most unspoiled sources. They are considered among the most dangerous and deprived of all pirate elements operating in space. This is probably just the, as you can see here, this is just the description of the event, because the whole concept of the Crimson Harvest is once a year, the Blood Raiders go on this big campaign to, like, get a bunch of blood for their rituals for the rest of the year. They also happen to really like, they used to believe that, like, the blood of innocents, like virgins or children, are the most, like, pure and best. But now that they're Capsuleers, they actually think that clone blood is like perfect. So they want our blood. So that's what the Crimson Harvest is all about, and that's why it happens every year. Just so happens to be on our around our modern day Halloween. And then the Order of Saint Tetramon is an Amar religious order known for its fanatical followers and radical scriptural, theoretical, and militant doctrines. The order is named for Saint Tetramon, an artichoper noble who assassinated his grandfather, the Emperor Zaragam II, in response to the incredibly maniac and heretical actions of the Mad Emperor. Order of Saint Tetramon was also banned from the Empire for a while, held out in Conid space, and then was brought back into the fold of the Empire a little bit by Jamil, but really by when Jamil was killed during their the Amar championship they were basically allowed back into the MR fold and have aggressively taken over as kind of the arbiters of morality within the Amarian system. There's also a lot of questions with that when it comes to the EOM cult and all that stuff, but we're not getting into that right now. This text is probably simply when you go to select one of the two, this is what tells you about the two. That's all. And then here we see that there's halt the harvest, enter a Crimson Harvest Gauntlet site, destroy 10 Blood Raiders, and destroy the final Blood Raider battleship in a Crimson Gauntlet harvest site. Man, I hope this isn't based on, like, loot rights again. Like, I really hate this problem where you get stuck in 3. Like, especially somebody who doesn't have the ability to, like, race very well, like an alpha or something like that. They can run the sites, but often will get the site stolen from them. And this just makes it so that they can't even continue their track, because you can't go back to 1 until you finish 3. Or at least that's the way it has been. I hope that that's not true this time. Anywho. And nothing there. And probably nothing. I'm not going to look in this. Well, actually, hold on. What I like to do here is look for 512. Is that right? No. I look for little carrots. Nope, we don't have anything. All right. Now I want to go back to the latest patch, because there's a lot of information in the latest patch that goes into this, and then we'll bounce back to this when it comes to when we're done. So not that one. Not that one. There we go. So this is the patch that they introduced a lot of the Rogue Drone stuff. This is the one on Tuesday, I think it was. I've talked about on the stream before that there's a lot of Upwell stuff and Edencom stuff in these files that were introduced on Tuesday, like they were snuck in, right? So we have the stuff that was involved in the Ulai site down, we have the Svarog clade stuff and Velez clade stuff. And here's the Ulai system stuff. In fact, they even say Ulai, and these are just, non-collidable or large collidable objects with a description to help you out. This is the stuff that's in the site. That is not what this is. This is different. And so they've been introducing a whole bunch of Edencom stuff all the way up from before the SEC sites have come out, in a way that, like, originally I thought the SEC sites were going to be ran by Aegis. Well, I guess they technically do have Aegis defenders, but my point is that this seems to suggest that they're doing something bigger. And then you have things like the construction dock with the description. If you have the right equipment, you might be able to hack the security of the facility to steal some resources. And then, whereas the previous security forces specifically got changed to say that they are part of the SEC, these say that they are guarding a capital ship security facility. So there's a big implication that there's something else happening on top of the increased rogue drone stuff. Also, you see that there's a power generator and a wreck. That's kind of interesting. Maybe they're both large collidable objects, so it probably isn't like you destroy this to make this, but hard to say. Edencom factory frame and docks, superstructure, factory active. So there's active factories and not active factories. This, and while like some of these descriptions might be stand-in from things that they've copied before, like this may just be they somehow copied a spawn container, and who knows why it's this. This one, I think, is a relatively new description. So this gate control will redirect the gates to the way station area, whereas before it pointed towards a decoy beacon. So the concept is that the gate is pointed the wrong place until you hack it. This might be part from the ESS sites. There were ESS mechanics on the high-sec systems for a day. I honestly think that was more just playing, like them working on the back-end stuff, but we'll see, maybe. But yeah, the secure facility also says it can be hacked, and there's stuff in the strings too. So, okay. Anything else with the Edencom stuff? Hold on. Yeah. So this description isn't just like you can hack it and get something out of it. It says, and offline its security features. And it's the text on the secure shield facility. So that's interesting. Also, oh no, that's later. We'll get to that later. Okay, so now let's talk about rogue drones. As we can see, they added in on Tuesday the rogue drone analysis beacon. However, from my understanding, it still can't be built, but it's in the files. You could actually, like, pull it up. I could go here and go, I could lose my mind looking at this. Hold on. It's called Concord, right? Where is it? Ah, Concord Rogue Analysis Beacon. So... open up my notepad under utilities. Paste this in. This is live on Sissy, or on Tranquility rather. So it's there, it's ready as stats. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. And but it has a description that's pending. And it has a bunch of this, you know, all the rules, right? A lot of people have done analysis of this, so either way, whatever. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, too. So, but one of the things that CCP has been talking about is, you know, the reward for these is one of the things that CCP has been kind of coy about. But of course, we also have the new drone mutaplasmids. And so, that, you know, it's pretty easy to put 2 and 2 together and say that probably these mutaplasmids and the rogue drone survey data is going to be the reward for doing these event sites, right? Or not these event sites, but these towers that you can put down, right? So each of these drone mutaplasmids will have, you can either do a speed mutaplasmid, a tank mutaplasmid, or, damage mutaplasmid, tank, and there's small, medium, heavy, sentry, and even fighters, and drone damage amplifier. Sorry, fighter support unit and drone damage amplifier. So there's tons of new mutaplasmids to come out of this. And once again, we can actually come up here, open this up, grab all of these, go on to Sissy, or sorry, go on to Tranquility, and then enter them into a notepad. And so we have the survey data, which isn't really giving us anything. That's probably just the red loot that you turn in to Concord or whatever. So these, you can see the stats that they up and down, right? So given the fact that this, so one of the things I remember talking to CCP Rise about during the early days, like right after Invasion, or sorry, Abyss had come out, you know, all that stuff. We got together. He was at one of the Pacific Northwest get-togethers, and he talked about mutaplasmids and the Abyss and rewards and stuff. And I said, like, what I'd really like to see is the ability to lock in one of the attributes, right? To be able to make it so it can't go bad. Like, even if there was like a secondary item I could introduce that would allow me to then get more out of the, out of the drum, or out of the mutaplasmid, or at least make it so that I can commit extra resources to make it so that the mutaplasmid is more likely to go my way. They obviously didn't do that exactly, but given the fact that there are all these different kind of mutaplasmids, you get to pick which attribute can't get bad, right? So the speed mutaplasmid makes it so that maximum velocity cannot go down. It can only go up. Damage makes it so that damage can't go down. It can only go up. Tank, same thing. Drone damage amplifier is way more standard, although what's weird is that this one doesn't have any terminology at all, but we'll maybe look at that in a second. Mutaplasmids usually have like grades and names to their grades, so this would be like an unstable, but who knows. And then, of course, the fighter support unit, right? So these are the basic drones, mutaplasmids that we have. Again, I want to suspect that these are going to be, and they can be used with any drone of that kind. I want to suggest that these are going to be the reward for the running the drone sites, right? Or the beacons. That's my assumption, at least. Now, that assumption is reinforced by the fact that the description pending here is not pending on Sissy. So, jumping back to Hoboleaks, that we can finally go back to today's patch. Yesterday's patch? Yeah. No, today's patch. Oh, wait, hold on. Another one happened an hour ago? During the Crimson Harvest, the Blood Raider cultist pirate will be clashing with... Yeah. I think... Yeah, we just looked at all these. Oh, Black Hat. The Black Hat. This has got to be the hacking one. Tetramon node hacked. Yeah. Black Hat. Hack a Tetramon node network. Yep. Halt the harvest. Any rate, a little bit further back. Did I mess this up? One second. Oh, I think I can go, yes. I can diff tranquility versus singularity and get it. Nothing there, but in the strings, we have a whole bunch of strings that have been filled out. So, all of the there's a bunch of road drones that have been added in, including the new ones that are on Sissy now, or just got put into Tranquility. And here's the description of it. I'm not going to read the whole thing because whatever, it's just saying that there's road drones. The interesting thing at the bottom here is these new infestations appear to be related to the unshackled overminds that are speculated to have come into contact with the Triglavian collective while remaining independent. Concord theorists from the Directive Omega-15 section have speculated that exposure to Triglavian information warfare and subsequent adaptation to it has resulted in accelerated evolution within these rogue drone swarms. Okay. So, up until now, we haven't really known what the Unshackled Overmind was outside of the rogue drones that are in Poshven that are not on the side of the Triglavians. It even says that in their description, that they are not working with the Triglavians, it would seem. However, this suggests that the reason why they're unshackled, or the thing that makes them different, is that they have been come into contact with Triglavians and not joined them. So in the rogue drone data streams, you see this, and even in Zoria's video, it says deviant automata must conform or be extirpated. And we've put a lot of focus on the conform part, those that became Subornos and by joining the Nafka Overmind. But the files, or the logs of Triglavians talking about the rogue drones speak about two other kinds of rogue drones. One are rogue drones that are so primitive that they consider them vermin and not sentient. But there's also the possibility of rogue drones that do not conform to the Nafka, that when given the opportunity, refuse. And what this is suggesting is that either one of those groups, now that they've come into contact with the Triglavians, have somehow advanced themselves even further, which is really interesting considering, my theories about the rogue drones, their development of technology, and the possibility that the Unshackled Overmind is associated with the Drifters. I don't know. It makes me wonder what Unshackled means. Is the thing that they don't like about the Drifters the fact that they're not in charge? We've always thought that the Unshackled and Forbidden Dominance arrangement is about, the Drifters controlling the Sleepers, but this seems to suggest maybe what they don't like to be shackled, or what Unshackled means is not tied to a group, and that is seen as being a violation to the Triglavians, perhaps? I don't know, man. The Triglavian methodology seems to be an interesting combination of individual, not freedom, but the idea of finding the best means that like one individual is more right than the other individual, as it were. Things are proven, as it, but this also seems to suggest that while they are against hive linking and other things like that, the idea of not being shackled is a problem. I don't know, man. That's an interesting one. The unshackled overmind rogue drone intelligence directing these huge vessels also appear to have appropriated and adapted Triglavian mutaplasmid technologies for their own purposes. Again, I also think that Triglavians, or the rogue drones, probably adapted to Isogen 5 and may, in fact, have been the creators of the filaments. So that's kind of an interesting thing from a lore standpoint when it comes to them, but that's not the only thing that's here. We also see some more descriptions about the beacon itself. The crab beacon. Then the mutaplasmids have a description that says that this bioadaptive mutaplasmid tool appears to share elements with both Triglavian and rogue drone technologies. First encountered as a key Triglavian tool for mutating the performance of various pieces of technology, this mutaplasmid is designed to colonize and radically alter a light combat drone. It is possible this application was originally developed for use with rogue drones controlled by the Triglavians, but hives controlled by the so-called unshackled overminds have also adapted it. As with their repurposing of the technologies of New Eden's core empires, independent rogue drones clearly have no difficulties when it comes to using these characteristically Triglavian technologies. This line is likely referring to the fact that a lot of the new rogue drones are different battleships. And while the rogue drones that were shaped like Dominic's are because that's the ship that they first stole, and therefore that's what they model themselves after, the other ships have descriptions that clearly indicate that it is a Raven or whatever that has been taken over by Triglavians. Or not Triglavians, rogue drones. The mutaplasmid colony integrated into this bioadaptive tool is very unusual, even by the standards of this bizarre Triglavian technology. It appears that rogue drone nanotechnology elements have successfully stabilized the potential for enhancements of navigation and spatial orientation functions. On the other hand, that's because this is a navigation. I'm sure that the combat one says combat stuff. On the other hand, mutation ranges and other functions are rather unstable. Triglavian bioadaptive technology makes extensive use of engineering colonies of exomorphic bacteria that are then used to grow, harvest, and adapt various resources found in the abyssal dead space. Artificial colonizing plasmids integrated into the specialist tools used for direct adaptation of technology can be found in Triglavian caches in various stages of development, i.e. the decayed, unstable, and gravid. These mutaplasmids can be used to alter the characteristics of a wide variety of equipment types, depending on the strain of bioadaptive tools for which they are integrated. And here we see the name of the potency, right? So this is the exigent. There's exigent, and then there is radical. So there's exigent and radical mutaplasmids. And these once mutated, they actually turn them into a mutated rogue drone. And so that means it's a totally different unit. It has a different appearance. It looks like a rogue drone. It's no longer the light drone that it once was. This light combat drone has been bizarrely altered by a mutaplasmid tool that is both Triglavian and rogue drone technologies. While the resultant drone unit may be enhanced in various ways and changed for the worse in others, it's certainly much more grotesque than its original form. Techniques developed for controlling Or's successful excavator line of mining drones based on pacified rogue drone technology appear to be working satisfactorily to restrict the rogue elements of the mutated drone. Then again, this is a combat drone equipped with adaptive tactical intelligence systems. Creepy. All right, so let's look into that a little bit more. If you go back into the client, we search for excavators. Now, I don't know whether or not this is actually meaning anything, because like CCP do like to like sprinkle these in all the time. But The description of the excavator drone says, reverse engineering of the active specimens considered collected last quarter in the UTAC FQ21 has proven even more fruitful than initially projected. We estimate completion of the shippable product within the next redacted. Disruption of the project during the ownership transfer has been minimal, largely due to the location of primary development at our facility in redacted. These machines have evolved incredible harvesting capabilities during their period of isolation. Our teams encountered the signs of redacted during the latest expedition, which led them to suspect the potential of redacted within infested regions. Although this hypothesis may explain the scale of unrestricted drone mining harvesting, it does raise some serious questions concerning redacted and redacted. At the direction of Omega-15, which is what we saw that earlier, compliance reports awaits redacted and will be sent to redacted list. Yaran Hura, or Special Research Liaison, Project Reaper Quarterly Report. Insufficient clearance for unredacted access. Please contact the Department of Friendship and Mutual Assistance if you're receiving this message in error. If you go back to venture endurance, that's what it is. All right, we'll get there. Show info, variations, endurance. The endurance is part of Operation Frostline. Operation Frostline is the OR's experimental resource extraction line. This predates Triglavian Collective. This ship was specifically designed to go into shattered wormholes in order to mine ice, for example. This was their first product line. And to that end, it says, after the success of the venture, mining frigate OR spun their growing frontier exploration, exploitation, and technology division into new subsidiaries. One of the first products undertaken by the newly configured OR conglomerate was the development of a new line of expedition frigates designed to meet the needs of the riskiest and most lucrative harvesting operations. The Endurance is being released under OR's Frostline branding and combines improved ice mining systems as well as well-proven mining frigate frame that so well the basis of the venture and prospect class. Unique subsystems and fittings coupled with the new compact ice mining laser design gives the Endurance a unique ability to harvest ice from the frigate class hull. In addition to this, the creators of the Endurance managed to retain much of the stealth technology the expedition frigates have become known for. Cool. Why am I talking to you about Frostline or the Endurance? Because the second product that Frostline came up with was the reindeer filaments. The reindeer filaments, which would eventually become needlejack filaments. Man, here we go. Oh, come on. Did they get rid of them? Or I can't. Oh, that's right. They decayed. This isn't going to be here, is it? Nope. Shoot. Well, give me a second. Yeah, they're expired. You can actually still look at them, but they're not, they're hidden from these, searches. So, but here we have the description, which reads, Frostline Laboratories, a subsidiary division of Outer Ring Excavation, continues to be a leader of the development of new technologies and expedite resource extraction in hostile environments. Filaments acquired from skirmishes with Triglavian collective vessels have proved a wealth of information to study emergent metaliminal storms, such as volatile ice storms, are a clear interest to resource extraction technologies. To further the spirit of Yule and continue expanding in their data pool, Frostline is choosing to share their latest variants of their transportation filaments with capsuleers across New Eden. For a limited time, pilots will be able to use these experimental metaliminal filaments to more quickly travel to locations affected by volatile ice storms across New Eden. That isn't even the same one that I remember, but shoot. They probably did overwrite it, didn't they? All right, well, either way, the original one, which is what eventually became the, it would eventually become the Needlejack filaments, was the idea that, like, so Needlejack is another one of those clues where the rogue drones in the Abyss are known as needles, and the filaments that are developed... Actually, never mind, I'm so silly. Following the success of the Frostline Laboratories' experimental trials with Triglavian filament technology, the Outer Ring Excavation Group authorized the commencement of Project Needlejack. Working in conjunction with Frostline or Technologies, was able to refine the technology at a cost-effective product, even though the means of precisely establishing a conduit destination continues to elude scientists. Mature production models include a filament device that opens a conduit able to transport 15 ships, blah, 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 blah. Right? So, in other words, Ore Laboratories has represented two things throughout basically its entire existence. One is experimental resource extraction, but two, specifically, rogue drones. And while this does say that it's Triglavian filament technology, as we talked about yesterday, I believe that it's possible that the rogue drones were the ones that manufactured the filaments for the Triglavians in the first place, and that the original filament technology came from the rogue drones adapting Isogen 5, which they were exposed to during the Apocrypha chain of events. So, or before. So, following that chain of thought, you see that Ore continues to experiment with rogue drone technology with this kind of optimistic assumption that this won't go terribly poorly. Yeah. Augmented mining drones. This advanced mining drone is based on rogue drone technology, optimized for impressive efficiency by the wild and hostile artificial intelligences. Drone AI experts were initially surprised by how easy this technology was adapted for capsular interfacing, almost as if the rogue drones had designed their mining equipment for human use. Again, look, CCP likes to put in these kind of like, but maybe it's dangerous. I don't know if it's ever going to be anything, but it is worth noting that these rogue drone, hold on.
I'm reminding you, get my recruitment code.
Oh gosh, I got to get my recruitment code for Final Fantasy. Thanks. Anyway, that was exciting. Okay, so, yeah, a revitalization project initiated in YC-118 has updated the venerable harvester drones with their latest in mining drone technology. Initially sold to Empire-based mining operations under the cluster, blueprints eventually ended up in the capsulators, blah, 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 blah. Oh, no, this is actually not rogue drone. This does not refer to rogue drone stuff. I wonder whether or not this has anything, like, special in the blueprint about it. Yeah, so this one takes just normal stuff, and this one takes rogue drone shit. That's pretty funny, actually. And this takes rogue drone shit. Absolutely. Awesome. So there's nothing spooky going on at all. I'm sure that these mutaplasmids are fine. Go ahead and make all of your drones into rogue drones and name them Bob. All right. Is there anything else to cover? I'm going to just scroll through this real quick. Oh, one last thing to look into. Something that they haven't talked about that I've seen about these new rogue drone sites, or rather the towers, is that now, according to the text, it seems to suggest that there's a new thing that's required. Complex encryption qubits. So now you not only need the structure to deploy, but you also need a sufficient number of these complex encryption qubits. Otherwise, you cannot link. And likewise, if the star system is under signal interference, you cannot link. I assume that this statement is simply saying that you can't do it in HiSec. But this one is weird. Also, actually, now that I see this, this says that signal interference can be none, low, medium, or high. Which if it was security, there would be none, low, and high. So this must be something else. There's something that controls how much interference is in the signal. Don't know what that is yet. But linking to this beacon uses complex encryption qubits, or CEQs, which will increase signal interface in the star system. So apparently you have to use enough of these CEQs based on how much signal interference are in the system. Linking takes so many minutes. During this time, you can't move. Crimson Harvest skin stuff. Crimson Harvest booster stuff. Crimson Harvest. Yep, that's it. That's it. That's all the stuff. So there's lots of stuff going on, and I hope that all of that news is useful. That analysis is useful. Hopefully it'll come handy later. But other than that, I'm going to close this up for now. If you are watching this as just the video that's just this one topic, there's going to be also a video that's the entire stream and other videos that are cut out from the other various parts of the stream, trying something new if you're checking this out on YouTube. So if that is you, then thank you for watching, and I'll see you in space. Okay, guys. Shoot. Hold on. Marker. I forgot some of the markers, probably. Thank you, guys. Thank you to the followers. Asher Met 77, 1 Stranglehold 1. Jeff. Superstitious. Mordra. Vosh. Devs. All you guys. Thank you for the follows. And Riley. Okay, let's circle back onto you, Riley. What do you got? Also, Zeppelin Boot. Thank you. Let's circle back on what I know. There's a lot of people talking, but again, when I'm doing these more structured stuff, I try not to get too distracted by chat. Do you remember CCP added the ability for supercarriers to spawn players? Yeah? Rogue drones are actually running ore. That is something I didn't talk about, which is that, like, a lot of this, including Frostline. So Frostline came into development when Serpentis was in charge of ore. And when Upwell purchased ore, the leader of Upwell, who, by the way, was the founder of ore, sent in Mortis Legion and the Capsuleers to destroy every facility, like kill every single Serpentis that we could find to prevent like secret or like classified projects under wraps. And the one that it was Operation Frostline was the original, and the Endurance was one of the things that they were trying to protect. So you're comfy being ignored. I mean, we're Eve players. We're all comfy being ignored, right? Steph, I've been listening to you all night and well, forgot to sleep. I've been told that listening to me is a really good way to go to sleep. So I'm looking for his he redeemed. Oh, Angry Concord guy. You guys never seen Angry Concord guy? Hold on. Here it is. I found it. Oh, is anything about Echoes canonical? CEQs, soft C, hard Q. Sex. Oh. So, crabs have sex to summon the rogue drones? Is that what we're going with? All right. Hey, Smile for the Internet. How's it going? Where? Where's Riley? All right. Yes. So. Not just for fun, it's going good. Going good. What time is it? I'm supposed to be doing fittings now, but I don't know if we're going to get to that, so I might have to do that later. I keep putting it off. I will, like, it is one of my top goals to work out some good skill plans, especially for alpha-friendly stuff. But CCB just dumped a lot of stuff on my lap to talk about this Friday, so here we are. This is what I mean by angry Concord guy. Oh, gosh. Yeah. What? Oh, man. Not just for fun. Coming in and dropping 10 tier 1 subs. Making it, doubling the number of subs that he has given to this community. Thank you so much. Not just fun. That is unbelievable. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, man. So, Smile for the Internet, Poringosa, Vele, Legio, Di Nemo, Cragsy, Spoons, Stilje, Sothis, J55, and Joe Bain getting all of them awesome emotes, including the SOE, SOCT, Sancha. I think we got Thucker in there. Thucker and more, including the Convocation of Empyreans logo, the Eve Universe Rave, the Flying Pod, and the Pod 07, as well as all three of the Triglavian collectives, Edencom and the Triglavian collective all together. Lots of emotes. Thank you so much, as well as like no ads and all that other cool stuff. All thanks to Not Just for Fun. Let's go ahead and celebrate by giving him a big old 07. Incredible. Incredible. I appreciate that you enjoy the stream, not just for fun, and I get to keep doing it because of people like you. So thank you. All right.
We got hostiles inbound. What's your status?
Establishing connection in 3, 2, and primary defenses are breached.
Attempting brute force on secondary. Keep them off me.
Capsuleers of New Eden. We are aware your scanners are detecting cosmic anomalies of an unknown nature.
Deploying sentry drones. That should keep them busy.
These anomalies originate from covert research facilities known as ghost sites. They are run by hostile factions and pose a significant threat to the entirety of New Eden.
Battleships on grid. Time's up. We gotta go.
Negative. Just hold them off. I'm almost through.
The Empires demand full compliance with the following directive. Capsuleer access to these illicit facilities is strictly forbidden.
Taking heavy fire.
Unauthorized interactions will be considered a violation.
Almost there.
Shields are down. There's so much damage.
And should you fail to comply,
I'm in. I've never seen anything like this. Wait. No. Abort! Abort!
there will be consequences.
And then I actually might be wrong now that I've showed all that, because this is Ovig Dursk. I mean, maybe he aged up, grew a beard, but yeah. So this is Ovig Dursk. He's like the head of the Sorrow Division, big Pearson within the DED. Interestingly enough, he came from Mordu's Legion and then the Caldari Navy before that. I've never understood the point of cutscenes that have nothing close to gameplay realism. Well, actually, like, in my opinion, that cutscene in particular hints at a mechanic of ghost sites that they intended to do, but ended up kind of fudging, because like in the real sites, the bad guys show up and they almost immediately shoot the cans and destroy you, whereas this video implies that there's like a period of time, like they show up and just fight you, so one person could defend while the other person hacks. It makes me wonder whether or not that feature got changed at the last minute. But I will say that a lot of their videos are actually really accurate. Ironically enough, one of the videos that was at the time famously like panned for being so unrealistic, which is the This Is Eve video. That story was considered to be unrealistic, but CCB Fozzie told me about a year ago that was actually based on a true story. So this event, because I was commenting about the fact that like, or at the time it was considered to be completely out of your mind to fly an all Galente ship or all the Galente fleet in Eve, because Galente ships were just not very great, especially as like exclusively all Galente. Like that role-playing level of it was just not really functional. Whereas now, more than them, like if you were in an all Galente fleet, that wouldn't necessarily like be that terrible of an idea. So I was commenting about how that video makes more sense now than it did before. And he responded with, well, actually, it came from an earlier story. So it was true back in the early days that they went with like one race fleets. And so this was true. Like that engagement happened that way. But by the time the video had come out, the mechanics of the game had changed as such that it seemed unrealistic. And now it has returned to being more realistic again. So it's kind of weird. I don't know. I like that story. I also feel that ghost sites were expected to be a lot more than they ended up being, if that makes sense. Because they were the first piece of like CCP Seagull's roadmap. You know, that's why it was called Rubicon. We were crossing the Rubicon. Did Riley ever come back? No? Now I'm sad. I'll have to message him. Corvus! All Galente feeds are still bad. Go ahead and follow Corvus. Check him out. He's a cool streamer. Does Eve for the Caldari, usually. He's a really good streamer when it comes to like watching. If you want to see, instead of people complaining about how there's no good PvP in the game or no good solo PvP in the game or anything like that, go watch Corvus' stream to find out how untrue that is. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, on break from streaming at the moment. Well then, still, go follow Corvus now. It becomes even more important to go to Corvus' stream and follow now, so that way when he starts up in a few weeks, you get notified. Archive VODs. Hey, not just for fun, coming in with 500 bits. Thank you so much for that. Why am I not getting alerts? Let's go ahead and since we got it. I just realized that alerts have been turned off too because of the show. So we're gonna celebrate, not fun, just fun's generosity. Thank you, dude. You rock, man. You really rock. I will, like, real talk. This might be a little bit much, but it's by the end of the stream. So if you're still watching at this point, then obviously you like the situation. But you know, I trying to make everything go. I had the Discord. My Discord getting hacked also meant that they stole like $250+ from me. So like making ends meet has been pretty rough. Trying to get back into it and, you know, trying to get things going. So it means an incredible amount to me. I appreciate it. So we got that, the sub. Thank you guys thank you for that 10 subs earlier. And then also after that, no, yes, maybe, yay! There we go. There's the cheer. All right, cool. Congrats to Aderon for that counterattack and Fleet. It was surprising to see you not doing the triangle thing. I mean, so I like to experiment with all the different kinds of mechanics and stuff. So yeah, I'm not just married to the Triglavians. In fact, Ash sided with the Triglavians because her enemy is Concord, right? So the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But even as she said in her initial post when she showed her support for the Triglavians, she considers the abduction of what she considers to be their property, i.e. baseliners, without asking, as highly rude, and would like and demanding the Triglavians give them more respect and treat them closer to equals if they wish to have the Capsuleers abandoned their previous affiliations in order to become Kaikonauts.
Ciliana Valash donated $50. Streamlabs alert check.
Thank you so much, Ciliana. You know, if you're bribing me to go tank for you in a little bit, I mean, it was unnecessary. I would have done it anyways. I appreciate it, though. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. All right. We still have things to go over. I totally don't even remember what I was talking about. Oh, my God. Thank you so much, dude. Ciliana, you're such a good dude. You're such a good friend, man. What was I even talking about? Oh yeah, Triglavians, Edencom, Ash. Yeah, so Ash doesn't trust the Triglavians, but she thinks that the Triglavians are a useful tool to getting at Concord. And so in the same sense, like a little bit out of character, even her support of faction Galente in faction warfare and such is still her way of kind of putting the screws into the universe. You know, the Galente are more freedom, and so she sees them as being like she can get away with more stuff. She can use that system better in order to kind of get what she wants done. And so ostensibly supporting them is valuable to her purposes. Now, Aderon Robotics is an entity outside of Ashtarothi, and they are fiercely Galente loyalists. RP sounds too long for me. Well, to me, all it is that occasionally I think about why my character is doing what they're doing, as well as like, because there's, you know, obviously I'm doing, just like I said earlier, right? Video game lore exists to justify the mechanics or what's happening. So in the same sense, like I do what I do, right? As a player, I decide I want to get into a thing and I get into it. I then have to explain why this makes sense from the ongoing story of Ashtarothi, even in my own little head. And I don't know, like, obviously not everybody does that, but like, I literally cannot create a character in a video game, like a role-playing game, without at least creating some sort of backstory and things. Because as they ask me questions, that leads me to think about who this person is. So it just kind of springs from things. All right. Lordy, it's already, my son's going to be home sooner rather than later. And if I jump into doing skill plans and stuff now, I'll be like tomorrow where I'm getting off literally as he's like getting off the bus. So I think that it's time to wrap things up. Oh, right. So speaking of wrapping things up, let's talk about next week. Next week, I want to do something special. Next week, so there's a video game that I played last year that I find amazing, and I've always wanted to do like a playthrough or show it off with you guys. But the problem is I played it by myself, and it's all about learning and discovery. So like there's always kind of an awkward thing where it's like I kind of know what's going on, but I'm helping you guys through it. Didn't quite make it to the point where I was motivated enough to actually do it. But the game itself is called Outer Wilds. I strongly recommend it. And if you want to play it, then go play it now, right? Like, don't watch my videos. Don't listen to anything else about it. Just know that it should should have been and was game of the year, but largely went under the radar. I'm not the only one that says that either. But the less you know about the game before you get into it, the better it is for you. That said, they just came out with an expansion that I've been kind of sitting on, partially because of my finances, but partially because of the fact that I wanted to see whether or not it was okay or was any good. And so I watched enough of a video on YouTube that talks about it to know that it's considered to be pretty good by the community, and then stopped it, which is like literally 20 seconds of the video. But so I went out and I picked it up. And so next week, I am going to do a playthrough of Outer Wilds starting from scratch. And so even though I know some of the story and whatnot, I have to go out and collect all the different pieces and tell the story that way and discover it with you guys, and probably forgot some stuff and all that stuff. So, and then there's the whole Eye of the Echo, what is it? The expansion. Echoes of the Eye, I think is what it's called. All of that to get into, which is going to be totally new for both of us. So I'm really excited to be doing that next week. I hope that people like it. And we'll also be doing some Eve stuff too and all that stuff. But like, that'll be something that I want to dig into. I don't go much further than literally assuming most MMO characters are the devil. All we do is run around killing millions of innocent creatures. Oh yeah, the murder hobo thing is definitely a thing. In Eve, we're more monstrous than normal. All right. But until then, I have been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put Eve into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for sticking with the whole thing. If you have, if you missed anything, all this stuff is going to be on YouTube within 24 hours. I got to go up and work on getting the stuff from yesterday up there right now. But if you like this, please, consider, you got to follow the stream so that way you can get into the next ones. And if you want to help make this possible, you can, of course, subscribe and get all those cool emotes, get rid of the ads and all that sort of stuff, and know that you are helping make this show possible for everyone. And if you happen to have Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime, that means that you get one free subscription on Twitch per month, which you can then use to give to your favorite streamer, or barring that, you can give it to me. And you get all of the benefits, and I get paid the same as if it was a paid subscription. So take Bezos' money, sub with Twitch Prime. If that's not what you want, if you want to step up a little bit, you can always go to my Patreon. Oh, sorry. My bad. I messed up my script. Thank you for saving me on that. Seedsaplenty. There you go. Thank you for that. 07, sir. 07's in chat. 07 with your favorite Twitch streamer, so that way, or your favorite Eve streamer. Show off all of the different Eve streamers that we have out there. So that way people can follow them all. We support Eve streamers. But if you want to subscribe but not pay money and don't have Twitch Prime, you can subscribe by going over to my YouTube, where subscriptions are free. And it would really be awesome of you trying to build that up and put on good content from there. I'm going to be working on my current video that I'm probably going to be recording this weekend and hopefully getting out there very soon is going to be on shared locations, like bookmarks and access lists. I'm pretty excited to put that together because it's something that I get asked about a lot. So you'll be able to catch that if you go and subscribe to my YouTube. Also, if you do want to commit more, you can always become a patron on Patreon, which now not only are the list of all my patrons at the bottom of each of my YouTube videos as they come out, but also you can see, if you go down below, you can see a list of all of my patrons in the section where you can join them. For just $1, you can have your name on that list. If you want to check out more of my stuff, if you think that my game design chops are kind of cool and you want to check out my work, I made a game called Playton, which is available for completely free on itch.io. It does suggest that you should donate money. Just set $0 and keep on going. It's fine. It'll let you download it for free. It's a puzzle game, real-time puzzle game in the likes of like Tetris. It's based on a game called Zoop, if you guys know that from my childhood, which is why I built it. But yeah, that's a cool thing. Let me know what you think. Let your friends know about it. There you go. If you want to take part and join us within EVE Online and let us help maximize your engagement with EVE Online, you can always join the Convocation of Empyreans. There is our Discord link. And we also have an awesome Notion, which I don't have a good link to yet. So here's the Abyss resource guide on our Notion. So you can go there and check out also the rest of the Convocation of Empyreans handbook, which has all kinds of useful guides, both for people in and out of the Convocation. We are recommended by EVE Academy. Yeah, if you want to join us in Final Fantasy XIV, come to the Goblin server. If you need a referral code, I can get you one. That's what Alexa was reminding me about earlier. And if you do not have an EVE account, or you need to make a new EVE account to get to make an alt, maybe you want to try out something new, you can make an alt with 1 million free skill points, or a brand new character with 1 million free skill points, which is worth 40 days of free-to-play alpha training for free by using a buddy link like that one right there. And if this is YouTube, you can check it down below. And that gets me cool stuff too. Gets you the 1 million free skill points. And if I get a couple more of those and they upgrade to Omega, then I will get a Martial battleship. So we're gonna have to figure out what the hell to do with that once I get it. But that's not. Glorification of the fit, mortification of the unfit. Lioneer, you, sir, are glorified. Lioneer, thank you for reminding me. Lioneer, who just showed up, is I'm literally like, the next line was, let's find somebody to raid. So, whoopsie. But I'm glad that you showed up, because people should go and subscribe or follow you on Twitch as well. Lioneer, for those of you who do not know, if you go down into my doobly-doo, the down below in Twitch, you will find a link to or a picture for EVE Workbench. EVE Workbench is a really cool website to share ship fits and strategies and such like that. Kind of a successor of Osmium and some of the other previous versions. And honestly, in my opinion, one of the nicest ones that have come out so far. And so go ahead and check them out both on Twitch and EVE Workbench for that sort of stuff, and make sure to give him a good old thank you if you enjoy it. All right, well, that's all my shtick. Let's find somebody to raid. So, out of curiosity, Lioneer, who would have you raided if I wasn't here? Oh man, we got Satonia. We raided him yesterday. Z-Kill Hero, Eve TC, Large Quaif 0, 24-hour stream. Ooh, final BPG HQ push. Does anybody know what a BPG? Blue Potion Gaming. What is HQ push? Headquarters push? I don't know. Either way, well, maybe we should find out. Oh my god. That's awesome. Candy Apple Quaif. Lord Cal of Kauai. Contempo Enterprises. Whew. There's a lot of good streamers right now. All right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what I always do. Not always do, but sometimes do in this case. Rather than do a full poll, I'm going to post a line. Under the line, first person that names one of the channels that are live, that's the channel we raid. Ready? Go. Fair is fair. Contempo Enterprises. There we go. Thank you guys for watching. Chilled out EVE Online with new bro-friendly industry. Sounds great. Until next time, I've been Ashtarothi. I will see you in space. I have credits, I promise. There we go.
Abyssus.